Welcome back to Attitude, Effort, Results, presented by Teamwork Online and the Clubhouse. Today, we have a guest from the southern part of the country. We're going back to the NBA for this guest. Madison Aldis is joining us from the San Antonio Spurs, and we're going to learn a couple different things today. The biggest takeaway that I've learned so far from Madison is how to get through a tough moment, not only in sports, but a mental battle as well. And so, if you want to hear the real, if you want to hear the raw, if you want to hear something that Madison has gone through in terms of struggling and getting through it on the other side, that's what we're going to be talking about today. As always, we want to bring the real information and not hide behind what is this corporate door that sometimes is seen. So very excited to have Madison Aldis from the Spurs on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I love it. Well, I'm going to run through quickly. Obviously, we want everybody to go check out Madison on LinkedIn and follow her there. She has had a phenomenal career starting from really college, where she went to one of the top universities for sports and entertainment in Baylor, right? And we partner with Baylor for their high school competition. Obviously, they do one of the largest competitions out in Atlanta every single year, which we partner with Lane and his staff over there. And so,
Yes.
coming from a background of sports in a school like that, Madison, tell me a little bit about what that was like getting into the industry, specifically in the Texas market down there.
Yeah. So I was on the acrobatics and tumbling team at Baylor, and my academic advisor asked me, what do you want to do when you graduate? And I had no idea. I said I either wanted to be a lawyer or an interior designer. So I was lost. And so I sat down with her, chatted with her, and she talked about this a new and up and coming major. At the time was called Sports Sponsorship and Sales. And she presented it in a way that I was like, wow, this is a really cool major. Maybe I should try it out. So started taking some of the sales classes and really enjoyed it. Found it really interesting, and then ended up doing an internship with the Miami Heat the summer before my senior year. And then once I graduated, came to the San Antonio Spurs and been here ever since.
You talk about lawyer or interior designer, and you end up in sports. Those three, there are no correlations at all.
Correct. Correct. So I did not know what I wanted to do.
Well, if you're out there right now, again, our audience, the young professionals and college kids, if you're out there right now and have absolutely no idea what to do, there are two people talking today that had no idea. I had 7 majors and minors throughout my college career. Madison was touching every department of the world that seemed like in terms of what she wanted to do. So if you're out there, again, this is a conversation that is going to be impactful today. Madison, I'm going to dive right into some tough stuff. When we talked prior, you said you were struggling a little bit in sales. Right now, you're the director of business development at the San Antonio Spurs, which is a position that a lot of people want to be in, a position in the NBA, specifically the Texas demographic, which is one of the top states for professional sports. And there was a point where you thought you might have been on the way out of sports and sales in general. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, so I had a pretty successful first season of selling, and came in pretty confident, and felt that I could, make an impact for the organization. And then my second year, I was really struggling at the beginning of that sales cycle, and just couldn't understand like why I was struggling. I had done so well in Miami. I had done so well my first year. And it hit me that like, wow, this is hard. And maybe I don't know everything and I need help. And so ultimately was put on a PIP, and had to, maneuver through a PIP and figure out what support I needed. Obviously, my boss was of huge support and led me, kind of down the path of what I needed to do to get through that PIP and to be successful. And did I beat the PIP, I guess you could say, and was able to move on and become kind of that success story of like, look, this PIP isn't here to get you out of the organization or, lead you down maybe a different path. It's really to figure out like where are we struggling? How can we get better? And how can we get you to where you need to be in this sales role? And so, um, my initial thought when I was put on the PIP was like, oh my gosh, they want me gone. Like this, I'm gonna have to move. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Maybe sales isn't for me. And going through the PIP, I learned like they don't want you gone. They want to be able to support you, and this is how they're supporting you by putting some, metrics in place to get you where you want to be. So it was a tough time. Really struggled, obviously internally, and was battling this, this challenge that I had, but I knew and believed in myself, and I felt like I could get through it, so I did.
So PIP, performance improvement plan, right? When you've probably, I don't even know if you put one out there. Honestly, if any of your teams out there, we don't even need to go down that line if you have. The opportunity for me in Phoenix was to learn what that PIP was and what that process was like. When people get to a performance improvement plan and something is physically put in front of you, that typically is not the first conversation that you've had with upper management about your performance.
Correct. Mhm.
What were the conversations prior to that about the performance, and how did it get to the point of a PIP?
Yeah, so I think naturally I'm like a perfectionist. I want everything to be exactly perfect. I want to have all of the answers ready to go. I want to have all of the perfect questions lined up when I'm selling to someone. I want to know everything about them. And at the end of the day, a lot of what sales is trial and error, and something's going to come and give you a curveball that you're not going to potentially know how to, overcome it. And so a lot of those conversations was what my boss would say was, "Screw it." Like, just do it and take that, challenge or that curveball and run with it, and don't be afraid to fail, because that's how we're gonna make progress and move on. So, a lot of those conversations in the beginning before the PIP was kind of that mentality of screw it and just try it. And then once we got to the PIP, it was like, okay, now here are some steps and some metrics that are gonna be able to help you get to that and challenge you to not be essentially perfect or feel like you need to have all of the answers, and take the risk and challenge of um, maybe failing.
The challenge of maybe failing, I think, is very shocking to some people, and it almost freezes them in their steps like, oh my goodness, I do not want to fail, especially when you are in a spot like you were, Madison, where you would have eyes on you all the
Hmm.
time. And you are
Yeah,
getting to the point of, if you do not hit these metrics on the performance improvement plan, you will not be with the organization. Like,
yeah,
a PIP is the last step. So for those out there, performance improvement plan is statistics or KPIs that if you do not hit, you're gone. That's the last step. You're fired. And that's a
yeah,
tough conversation to have. And not a lot of people, especially in today's day and age, are willing to, and one, admit that you have gone through that process, but two, have come out of the pit to be
yeah,
transparent, right? That typically, as soon as a PIP's in place, you're like, meh, we're probably not working here, right? You
yeah.
get through the PIP. Now, what happens in your career? You overcome the PIP, you get through it. What did that do for your career mentally and in your sales approach?
Yeah. So I think it was never a question of like how much output I was putting in. It was more so some flaws, I would say, in my process. So I needed to improve my sales process, not necessarily my output. So I think once I was able to improve that sales process, then we could see the success coming. And I'll be honest too, like sometimes people just have a slow start. And I know there were flaws in my system, but there was also just this like slow start, and then I was able to pick it up and kind of gain that confidence of like, wow, I really did that. I just completed what I thought was the impossible. Like, man, I can do anything, is kind of how I felt after that. And then eventually made that transition into management, where now, if someone is on a PIP, I can be that person that's like, I've done this, I know what it's like, and let me help you um succeed.
I want to talk through the process of your career growth into management, but I want to sit in this well for a little bit. We talk about when you're in a dark place and you're in a bad spot, some people want to try to do anything they can to get out of it. And it might be a false sense of getting out of the well, right? Because you might look at this and you just do anything you can mentally, physically, emotionally to get out, and you get out. All of a sudden, 6 months later, you're right back. You're like, son of a,
Mm.
how did I get out of here the first time? You don't remember, right? So while you're this time, and I'm not the person that's like, let's ruminate on all of our bad decisions in life, right? But there was a thought for you not to renew your lease. Like you were like,
Yes.
hey, I don't know if I'm supposed to be in this city, if this is the career path. So not only were you on this pit, but you had that thought too. Like, what was like?
Yeah. I came to my boss, probably he was like, "Why are you asking me this?" But I was like, "Look, I renew my lease. My lease is up in a couple of months. I don't know what to do. I'm on this PIP right now and I don't know. Like I don't know if I'm going to be here. Why would I stay in San Antonio? I don't have family here." So, um and he couldn't really answer. I think he believed in me and really wanted me to progress, but at the same time, ultimately it's me and what I can do and how I can get past it. So he said, I can't necessarily tell you what to do, but uh you know I would trust in your gut and what you're feeling and what you think's best for you. And I think in that moment I was like, you know what, I believe in myself, and like I am going to get out of this some way, somehow. And then I was like, you know what? And if I sign and I'm not here, then we will figure that out too. But I think that was like kind of the turning moment where it was like, I am gonna do this to prove myself that I can get past this. So
Yes, turn up the energy on that. Turn up the volume on that. Hey, how about we get out of this well and now we go, right? Now we
yeah.
hit the burner. Now we hit the extra boost and now we're taking off. You did take off after that, by the way. Your career did take off. Your influence on this industry specifically, which is how we got connected, is because you want to help others to the clubhouse. And so that's how we get connected. Your influence on the industry has catapulted since that moment. And now you're into management. You're at one of the top positions for one of the top teams across the league. What was the thought process of career growth? Because transparently, I'm in a position where it's like, do I go to management? Do I stay in the cellar? And I think that is a common thought. What was your thought process through that?
Very similar. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do in college, but
I'm feeling a theme here.
it was this kind of, do I continue to sell and make a lot of money and bank on myself every year, and I felt like I could, or do I make this transition into management, take the learnings that I've had and see, where this goes. And it was during COVID. And so there was obviously a lot of unknowns. And there was an opening that was becoming available. I wasn't aware that it was becoming available at the time, but my boss had kind of prepped me that maybe some things were coming. And so he said, "Look, if you do want to go into management, these are some things that I would recommend that you do." And I then kind of took that on as a challenge of like, okay, I think I do, and let me see if I can kind of do these things that he had challenged me to do. And one of them was going to each of the current leaders that are within our department and asking them some questions of like, what do you enjoy about management? What do you not enjoy about management? And some other questions. And so I did that. And that's when I learned even more that, okay, I think this is the path that I want to do. And so when that position became available, I was then able to make that transition. And I had kind of built this trust between the leaders that this was something that I had really thought about before just taking the leap. So,
We talk about preparation and how important that is. And we talk about that a lot because there's a lot of people out there right now that don't know where they want to go, don't know what they want to do. Or maybe they have a vision and they don't know when they're going to get there. And so the paralysis of, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get there, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, squash that and do what you can right now
Mhm.
to set yourself up. And you might be setting yourself up, in your case, for a role that you didn't even know existed at the time, but you were putting in the effort right then and there, and you're asking questions to high level leaders. And so the worst thing that comes out of this, whether that role that you knew was open or not, or didn't know, whether that comes
Mhm.
available, the worst thing that happens, you just learn from high level leaders, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Another thing too is I think I asked, what are some of the current challenges that we're facing? What are, if there's one thing that you would change with our department or change with, maybe a sales and service relationship, what does that look like? So that if I were to ever be in that position, I could challenge those things and see if we could improve those things. And then I took all of that and tried to build out a business plan just as if I was gonna be, in that role, to see, you know, what get my, like, gears turning on, like, what could that look like if I was in that role, and do I think I would enjoy this? Or, do I think I would enjoy continuing to sell?
So you actually took those questions, those steps, and created a business plan again without knowing that that
Mhm.
role even existed. Am I hearing that correctly?
Correct, correct.
Oh man, I love that. I talked a little bit about this in a previous episode. I like going into spaces to present before I present, like physically getting in a meeting room. The other day, yesterday, actually, I had a big meeting today. Actually, that's where I just came from. I walked into the room that I was going to present with this client beforehand, and I did the whole route. So I'm talking to nobody in the underbelly of the stadium, and I got people looking at me so funky. People are like, "Hey, you good? You're talking to nobody." I'm like, "Yes, because I want to get in this room to." So my mind, my energy has already understood that, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. It sounds
Yeah.
like you were in the same spot when you did there. How did that prepare you for when the role actually came open?
Well, I'll say the business plan is pretty funny. I think if I look back, I'd be like, wow, that is so like not really what this job is. I mean, it is, but it has helped us look at some of those things, and we are implementing some changes now with it. And so it is funny to look back and say, oh, this was actually what someone had said 5 years ago, and now here we are with this, change. So
On the flip side, now you're on the management side. You made that leap. You're on the management side. You get to make decisions. You get to create processes. You get to strategically help everybody on your team. What are you looking for from your leaders? Because you now have leaders underneath you. What are you looking for from your leaders right now as the Spurs continue to trend upward?
yeah, like as in, for like our sales reps or for like me?
For you as you look to grow the business, what do you see, what do you need from some of your top reps who could be leaders? You don't need a title to be a leader. What are you looking for from your top reps or from some of the leaders underneath you?
Yeah, a lot of times it comes sort of natural of when I'll ask them, like, "What are you thinking on this?" For instance, right now we're kind of evaluating our premium inventory and seeing like what's working selling wise, what could we change? Do we create some different packages? And so going to some of those reps and asking, who's in your pipeline that you think could benefit from something different, and then what does that look like, and giving me ideas, because at the end of the day it's really what they're hearing, and same with my manager that reports to me, like what is he hearing from the reps. At the end of the day it's about the client and what the client is saying and hearing and wanting, and how can then we make changes to improve that. So a lot of it's just asking like, what are you hearing, and what do you think would be successful? And I mean, feedback is always important and like necessary, and ask the questions and give that feedback.
From what I'm hearing you say, the opportunity to ask questions and to listen, to almost put your ear to the ground. Because as a leader, sometimes you're not always going to understand exactly what the client wants, right? Because you have strategic campaigns to be working on, you have different processes that you have to implement, and it's not your job anymore to be ground level.
Yeah, the
But
eyes and ears.
listening, yeah, and listening and asking questions. I was listening to a podcast the other day that said, my job as a manager is just to ask questions. That's it. I just ask questions. I poke holes in everybody else's idea, and we go from there. Have you seen the management style? Has it been what you want? Have you enjoyed it more? Enjoyed it less? What's been different about it? Like, how's the management experience been for you so far?
Yeah, I think sometimes I'm like, okay, slow down, Madison. We need to ask more questions. We need to get some more input. And so I think sometimes I've had to step back with that. Specifically taking on, I just took on kind of a new role where I am overseeing the Austin Spurs sales staff. And I went in kind of guns blazing, and I'm like, okay, hold on, step back, Madison. Let's ask some more questions. Let's ask why they're doing it this way. Let's see, the different processes that they have, and go from there. Because although I might think my suggestion is the best, it might not be, and there may be a reason in a that that we're doing it this certain way. And so that's been something that I had to kind of go through a couple months ago. Is like, slow down, let's ask the questions first before we make any changes.
It sounds like empathy. It sounds like humility from yourself, taking a
Yeah.
step back and saying, I am good at what I do because I'm confident, and that's why I'm here. But having humility, having a little bit of a humble confidence is really what I'm hearing that has propelled you. When think about your younger management days, you just get into management and you're going to get inside sales kids. You're going to get kids right out of college. The call it soft skills or the non revenue driving techniques that they have. What are some of the most important things that you're looking for in a person, not necessarily a rep, but in a person to hire in professional sports? Because there's a lot of kids out there right now that are like, I want to be in professional sports. It's the hardest thing to ever do. There's 1,000 applications, and don't get me wrong, we have episodes on how to get in. But what are some of the things that you're looking for in your people that you're bringing on?
Are they intrinsically motivated? Right now, we are in a hybrid environment, so um, we've got to see that you're going to be able to work and put in the effort, and that you're intrinsically motivated to succeed. Um, Leading with values, so our values are integrity, success, and caring, and that's kind of one of our check boxes that we look at is, are you values aligned with us? Um, and I think too, like being a team player, although sales is an individual sport and you're, selling and trying to generate revenue and commission for yourself, we do have greater, larger goals as a department and as an organization. And how are we supporting the team to get to those goals?
The the team. I had a roommate that always said that. The team, the team, the team. As you look to grow, if there's a sliding bar between 0 and 100 and you have one rep at 100 and you have five reps at 0, that does not help. So if you're out there listening right now and you're at the 0 on the sliding scale, let's get a little bit better and get past 0. If you're at 100 and the rest of the team is not keeping up, catching up, getting to the spot that you're at, you got to go reach your hand down and you got to start pulling them up, right? That is why the team is important, because at the end of the day, just like Madison said, you are in an individual sport. You are in competition with everybody you sit right next to. And if you do not have a little bit of a humble swagger to you, a little bit of confidence that you are the guy, that you are the girl, the sales industry is cutthroat and it might not be for you. But if you can reach down and pull people up with you, that's how you get to be in a position like Madison, as she gets to oversee people and she gets to have real impact, not only within a major sport organization, but in people's lives as well.
Yeah.
So I love that saying, Madison.
Well, and I think that goes into play when we are promoting someone too. Like it's not all about the numbers. Like I want to see whether you're a team player and you have those values and you care about the organization, you care about the people you work with, and you care about your clients. So it's more than just the number. And I think a lot of times people in sales are like it's revenue, 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 but it's more than that. And like you got to be a good human too. So
Yeah, good humans are really fun to work with.
and they go further, I would say too.
And on the flip side, bad humans, not that fun to work with.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had somebody the other day that was coming out to an event, and they're like, "Hey, you can bring whoever you want. Just bring them out to this client event. We really want them out here. You only have one stipulation: they got to be fun to hang out with. They got to be fun because we're gonna have some fun, and it's a fun event. You got to bring some people out who are gonna have a good time."
And I'd say traditionally sales folks are a lot of fun. We do, a lot of sales contests. We do a lot of like get-togethers, happy hours. So you want to hang out with people that you enjoy, and so you got to be fun. Yeah.
If you could plug the Spurs organization as a whole, I actually had an opportunity to speak with a couple of your higher ups, probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point, and looked at actually moving to San Antonio. It was right during the pandemic, so there wasn't a ton going on, which is why I ultimately decided to go down to Florida. But if you had to plug the Spurs, what are some of the backings? Obviously, integrity, caring, and success being the pillars of
Yeah.
the organization. But what are some of the things that you've enjoyed the most? What are some of the things where people out there right now that are looking for roles, why they should come to San Antonio?
Think there's a lot coming up. We are, I think, on the precipice of being great again, and we've got Victor Wembanyama, so that's always a plus. I think we're working towards potentially a new arena. So there's a lot coming up, and there's a lot happening now. We've made some really great progress in our expansion as an organization, not just with the that we call it the I-35 corridor, with Austin and all the way down to Laredo, but internationally. So we just have a partnership with Ledger, who is actually from Paris, France.
Wow.
So there's a lot of really cool, innovative things that are happening. We we have a I guess partnership with ChatGPT. So we are fully integrated as an organization with ChatGPT and utilize that a ton. And that's been really cool to come up with different ways to use it, and see how we're using it every day to improve our sales and increase revenue. So lots of cool things that are happening now, coming up. And it's a great organization to be a part of. I know everyone says like, oh, it's a family, but it really is a family. I wouldn't have stayed with the San Antonio Spurs for this long if I didn't love the people that I work with, and that's what keeps me here.
You know, we were joking earlier that not a lot of people, well, in the sport industry, as you grow, sometimes bouncing around is important. Well, you've actually way outdone everything that I've done because I've jumped every other year, it seems like. But you are fully integrated in the Texas market, fully integrated into the Spurs organization, which shows why that's a phenomenal organization. It shows that they do care about their people because somebody like yourself at a high level and a high performer and a great leader will go find another organization to work for if they're not enjoying the one they are. So I absolutely love that. I'm curious personally, what's it like getting Victor Wembanyama? What's it like having a guy like that in the building? Because you were there throughout the whole process. You guys are as a basketball team, not on the business side, as a basketball team, not very good. You get one of the good picks, then it happens. Like, what is that process like? I think a lot of people are don't understand what it's like on the business side when
Yes.
something of that magnitude happens to an organization.
Yeah, it gives me chills, like, just thinking back, because probably the greatest and toughest, months of my life after that, but, I started with the organization a week after Kawhi left, so it was a definite change, I would say, in the organization, and we were, in that rebuild, full on rebuild. And so then to have this number one pick, we were all in the um, office, and we had, this big screen. And when they announced it, just we were jumping up and down, so excited. And I remember we popped champagne bottles. We got in trouble for it, but we did it and popped them. And I didn't even get maybe 2 sips. And it was like, all right, everyone on the phones, because the phones were literally blowing up. I think we sold out of courtside in like 13 minutes. It was absolutely
Holy smokes.
very quick. Um, Ultimately, had some price increases after, and it was it was incredible. My one of my duties that night was sending out all of the inquiries that we were receiving, and I could not keep up. They were coming in so quickly. That night, I think I went back to my house around 3 a.m. People were still calling at 3 a.m. Like, that was crazy. Went back, slept for a couple of hours, and came back to the office, I think around 6. And it was consistent work around the clock for probably a good 3 months. And yeah, it was a absolute team effort, though. Our sales and service department and box office and everyone involved in, revenue generation did a incredible job of like just keeping up. But it was insane. Insane.
3 a.m. because
Yes.
of one man. Actually, at the time, one young man or child.
Yes.
Like,
It was
he was
eight,
very young
18.
when he came into the league.
Yeah. 18, 19, maybe. Yes. And at that time, that was just the draft lottery.
The
So that,
lottery,
I
yeah.
mean, obviously, like, they knew we were going to get Wemby. I would assume, like, that would be crazy if we didn't. But we hadn't even said, "Hey, it's Wemby." Like, it's just number one. That's all we know. And it was a crazy time.
Oh, that's so exciting. There are so many ebbs and flows in the sport industry, and I'm sure we could sit here for days to talk about what stinks about or what things have not gone our way. But when things do go your way and you have moments like that, the energy, the electricity that you feel and the people around you, because you said for 3 months, you go through a process that was one of the most challenging in your careers.
Yeah.
The people that you went through that with, I'm assuming, are some of the people that you're the closest with, because when you go through the trenches with people, that's why warriors, that's why Army vets, Navy, like all of our armed forces are so attached to the people they go through. They're going through the trenches
Oh,
with
yeah.
people. And that's what makes sports fun. That's the camaraderie, the competitiveness that we have. And that's why it's one of the best industries out there.
Yeah. And I think leaning on people, I know a lot of the times, maybe being on a PIP is kind of a hit to your ego, and maybe you want to keep it in and you don't want to tell people like, "Hey, I'm on a PIP." But I needed that support. I needed people around me to know that, to help me get through it, and I leaned on those folks that were, successful. And I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And like, "Can I try it? I should probably try it because you're doing better than me." And so I encourage everyone that, if you do end up getting on a PIP or even just a slump, like, um, reach out to the people around you, because that was how I was able to get through it, was by having the support of the other reps around me. So
Gosh, what an awesome conversation today. We took it a couple different ways, and I really truly believe this is going to be impactful for everybody out there. As we wrap this up, Madison, what is something I missed? What is something you want to share with everybody getting into the sport industry and outside of the sport industry? Because we do have a good amount of listeners outside. But what is something that you feel is impactful that you would like to share with the world?
you probably hear this a lot, but something that I really think is important is find a job where that manager is going to help you grow and be the best version of yourself possible. I just remember at Baylor there were a lot of folks that were saying, "Hey, I need to stay in Dallas, or I want to stay in Dallas. I need to stay in Texas. I'm not looking elsewhere." And I was kind of the oddball. I said, "Hey, I'll go anywhere." And funny enough, I stayed in Texas with the plan. I thought I was going somewhere far. But I ultimately chose the Spurs because of the manager and who I was going to be reporting to every day, and just felt that they were really going to support me in my career, and they did. And so I just really encourage folks to do that. Is look to see who's hiring you, and what's their background and how are they going to be able to support you to get you where you want to be.
So impactful today. Thank you for your time, as time is our most valuable asset. Madison Aldis, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Attitude Effort Results community, let's inspire others and continue to grow together.